Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today, what we are going to do is kind of look over some decks for post-ban day one of new standard. So, if you haven't heard, the ban list came out today. Fable the Mirror Breaker, gone. Reckoner Bankbuster, gone. Invoke Despair, gone. What's sticking around? A lot of powerful white cards. Sheoldred, Atraxa, Farewell, stuff of that nature. So we're going to look at some decks. We're going to do two videos. This one is going to be existing decks that gets either some minor revisions or kind of tweaks based on the new meta, things we can bring into day one standard that were already established decks that didn't necessarily get hit by the bans. And then what we're also going to look at in a separate video is 5 brews. So kind of new ideas, things we could try out, maybe less sample size, stuff of that nature. So we're going to be looking at UntapedGG. It's a companion tool that aggregates user data in terms of like win rates, stuff like that. You track your own data and then it aggregates, it gives us stats. Link is in the video description if you want to get started today. But we're going to look at some decks. We're looking Diamond and Mythic rank over the last couple of weeks to see what's kind of been playing out, and we'll kind of go from there. I'll paste all these deck lists with timestamps so you can go ahead, you can just pull what you want. We'll speak to what the decks are now, and then in the embedded links, I will update them based on what I think the configuration should be, factoring in things like taking out Reckoner, Bankbuster, or Fable, and Mirror Breaker, or whatever it may be to some existing lists. So we'll jump into it. And kind of a deck that's largely fell under the radar and has been putting up some pretty decent results in the last little bit towards Mythic is Mono White Humans. So usually a deck reserved for best of one, and it's been putting up like pretty high win rate. So this is a human tribal deck. It got the addition of Coppercoat Vanguard. So this is a 2-mana 2/2 that gives your other humans a power boost and gives them ward 1. I think a big kind of winner of the Rakdos meta is Thalia. Less Blood Tithe Harvesters, less Invoke Despairs, kind of more kind of a shift to potentially things like Mono White that you could tax them. The Esper Legends deck doesn't largely get hit as much, but the curve of Skrelv into Thalia has been very powerful in past standard sets. The one kind of knock with this deck is Lithomantic Barrage is a very powerful 1-mana removal spell that hits everything in the deck. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how much red is represented in the format post-ban. Now that Fable's gone, it's not kind of an auto-include, you play those colors, to see where the kind of removal aligns. But you have things like Hopeful Initiate, Recruitment Officer for card advantage, Guardian of New Benalia, gives you pseudo-indestructible, Intrepid Adversary as a Lord. This card's been amazing. I've been playing it a lot in Historic, but Invasion of Gobokan, it's like Elite Spellbinder that you then attack fairly easily in this deck, given you have like 1-mana, 2/1s and stuff like that. Then you flip, and then it just keeps putting counters on your creatures, protects you from board wipes, stuff like that. Honestly, like, we'll take a look in a sec at the sideboard, but they have the other 2 Gobokans there. I would probably just mainboard it. I'm very medium on this card. While it does have some matchups, a lot of the removal tends to be exile based, and you're at card disadvantage in this deck. This deck doesn't really draw cards. So when you are kind of throwing away cards, you're not using anything like Sarah Paragon to rebuy it or have graveyard synergy. So I usually am a little bit timid on playing this card here. I would just play the Gobokan's main. It helps you against like the removal. I can pick off like an Atraxa or something like that. Ossification is the removal, Brutal Cathar is removal, and then Adeline is just kind of a big beater that throws in a whole bunch of damage. 23 lands, but you're playing Mishra's Foundry's creature lands and Ganjo's as pseudo removal. Sideboard against the heavy removal deck, so you have Wedding Announcement, Extraction Specialist for targeted removal, you could bring back stuff, Brutal Cathar is another removal spell, Destroy Evil for the big stuff, and then Surge of Salvation for black or red based removal. Again, I don't know how relevant Surge of Salvation is going to be. This card was very good against like Invoke Despairs or just targeted removal. We'll have to see where that kind of falls. You might want even just something like another Destroy Evil or Soul Partition, just having some more clean answers to Atraxa. Like, what I would personally do is just cut 2 of these, bring in the Invasion of Gobokan into the main, and then play 2 Archangel Avacons in the sideboard. I've liked that just as a weenie strat. You can reanimate, puts pressure on your opponent, and there's no Invoke Despair anymore. so your opponent's not going to pick you off like your planeswalker, creature, everything of that nature. So interesting deck here to get started. The next deck, there's a couple from the Arena Championship. So this was the Jeskai Dragons list. It was Andre Strasky got to the finals with it. They were calling it the Splinter Twin, but basically you use the Gobukan, which you have here, and then you can attack it right away with Zurgo. So you get hexproof the turn it comes down, and then you can give it pseudo indestructible with the flipped Gobukan as well. And then that allows you to keep getting card advantage and stuff of that nature. This list is only running 2 Bankbusters. You would have to find some replacement in terms of card advantage, as well as the Fable, the Mirror Breaker. The way I would imagine this deck kind of evolves, if anything, is going perhaps a little bit more controlling. You can do stuff like Brotherhood's End, you can bring the Sunfall's Main. I would like access to Farewell in the 75. You could also, if you want, bring in the Chrome Host Seed Shark into the main board as well, to give you another way to make tokens, kind of play like a mid-range shop. The Wandering Emperor is very powerful. Zurgo is very powerful. So you do have some options at that side, but it's not too bad to kind of adjust it. Like Wedding Announcement is going to be one of the powerful effects. Disdainful Stroke is also a very strong card in the post board. You can also look to just have access to like another Archangel of Wrath in the main board to deal if aggro becomes more prevalent. So we'll kind of tweak the list and go from there, but I think access to just more Sweepers main. And then it's easier in that sense to kind of play it out. I don't like 2 Sokuzans, to be honest. Like, I can understand you just making tokens with this list to kind of attack in, but you only have 1 legendary to reduce the cost, and then drawing 2 of these when you are a mana-hungry deck, you are effectively a control deck at the end of the day, may prove to be a little bit difficult. From there, we go Orzhov Midrange. So this is the Autumn Burchett deck from the Pro Tour. This is another deck where, while it does have access to Bankbuster, I think the mono white shells are going to be very powerful post-ban. The thing is, these mono white decks tend to get beaten up a bit by the Atraxa piles. So shifting, some of the decks have either gone Boros to take advantage of Fable the Mirror Breaker Tali, or Orzhov to take advantage of Breach the Multiverse. I think going Orzhov is probably cleaner now that you don't have access to Fable. You also get hard removal on the sideboard to deal with some of the more aggressive decks of the format. The easiest kind of thing to do, in my opinion, is cut the Bankbusters, play some Spirited Companions, and then it's really up to you. If you want to bring in the 3rd Lauren, you can play a Destroy Evil, you can play a Go for the Throat main as well. You have some options in terms of what you want to add into the main board to kind of attack the main. I would probably also just play a couple more copies of Gobukan. I like having access to that card in the deck. So that is there. You can also go something like 5-mana Elspeth Planeswalker. Gets better now that there's not Invoke Despair. Can help you dig for certain cards. You have a powerful Planeswalker package. You also have a lot of good lands, and Roadside Reliquary, Storefront with Sarah Paragon is a nice interaction that gains you 3 life a turn. A lot of good removal as well in these colors. And then a lot of ways to just kind of fetch lands, make sure you hit your land drops. We then go to Esper Legends. So don't mind the win rate right now. This deck was a deck that at certain points of Standard was the best thing you could be doing in Standard. The printing of Lithomantic Barrage really hurt this deck, as well as the prevalence of the various Rakdos decks. Just going over the top tend to be a bit of an issue for these types of decks. I do think it is something to revisit, though, to see if it is still a powerful contender post the board, like the change. So this deck is just the Legends deck. You're using Plaza Heroes, the color fix for you. You have access to Toulouse with the Rafine to like draw discard, along with Rona to get virtual card advantage. There's a Sheoldred deck which has a lot of utility. Like again, Skrelv, Thalia, Rafine is a hell of a curve. Rona also plays really nicely in this shell. In terms of the sideboard, I do think I would want, instead of the Spell Pierce, Disdainful Stroke. I think that's a better way to approach the meta. Elish Norn's interesting, but I would probably... I like the Wedding Announcements, I like everything else. The cut downs, I'd probably trim some numbers and then have access to just more Go for the Throats, I think. Gives you an option to kind of go more aggressive in terms of like dealing with the bigger creatures, because like you're not going to beat an Atraxa. Farewell beats this deck pretty bad, but generally sweepers, regardless, like even the Sunfall beats up this deck pretty bad. But you got to get under them. Even having access to Duress might not be bad to deal with, like if there's a lot more sweepers in the format. Because you're in Esper Colors, you have a lot of options in terms of how mid-rangey, how controlling, how much interaction, like what type of interaction you want. But largely I would just in the interim just switch this to the Disdainful Stroke, trim down a cut down, probably play like Destroy Evil. That gives you some flexibility to also have an enchantment removal there. And then lastly, this is the Selesnya Enchantments deck. This was the one that Seth Manfield brought to the Arena Championship. So there's kind of two versions. There's the aggressive Calyx version, where you're playing like a lot of small creatures, you're pumping them up, dealing a lot of damage. This is the more mid-range focused version, built around Hallow Haunting. So Hallow Haunting is a very powerful card, but was incidentally hit a lot of times by the Invoke Despairs. With the addition of the Hallowed Haunting, like with Invoke gone, Hallowed Haunting can kind of run free, lets you kind of spam a bunch of tokens. There's a cool interaction where on your upkeep, when your sagas are about to flip, whether it be Restoration or Teachings of Curing, you can cast Rite of Harmony. Those enchantments flip, they enter the battlefield, you get to draw a card, so there's some card advantage there. Still have your Generous Visitor, Jukai Naturalist. Catilda's your kind of primary win condition in addition to the Hallowed Hauntings themselves. Interesting with this version, it's not playing any of the slow land. Instead, no Aganjo either. I think at the very least you want a Aganjo. Like I could understand the need because you're playing Ossification, so you do want to have the number of basics. But I think there's utility in having the Aganjo. The sideboard, you have Stonebrain, likely to name Atraxa. Your Forest is when you're going into the Nisa for like the grindier matchups. I think I would also want access. I would probably just cut Surge of Salvation at this point and just go up another Wedding Announcement in the side. Wedding Announcement's very good in the grindy matchups. Honestly, I would even see if you can squeeze it into the main board. I really like Wedding Announcement in these shells. You have your Destroy Evils, Circle Confinement as early removal, as well as the Loran. This deck's going to kind of be... This deck gets wiped hard by Farewell, which is going to be kind of a sentiment to a lot of these decks, as they are more linear in focus. So you do get hit by it, but you could do have that as a target for the Stonebrain. Additionally, you can look at things like there's the Saga that exiles a creature with 4 greater toughness. So there's a couple different options you can go with in that regard, but I do think I'd like access to the Nisa in like a Farewell meta, kind of shifting up in that regard. Largely, I think the card that, based on what we've seen today, a card that could probably see a lot more play in sideboards, because I can anticipate we're going to be seeing a lot more Wedding Announcement style decks, is Glistening Deluge. Just having access to a Sweeper Post board that can deal -3/3, kind of a one-sided board wipe. Similarly, Lithomantic Barrage. So hey, look, Rakdos cards are very good. But I think these are cards that could increasingly become better. But this is probably where I would look day one. I don't enjoy playing this deck, but I think this is probably the best contender. Atraxa Ramp, I'd have to take a look. I still think the Atraxa Ramp decks are very powerful. Bankbuster was a good 2-drop there. I think you largely just shift and then have with the Atraxa Ramp decks just either like some more early interaction, or there's like just a sweeper main. Like if you could shift the mana base a little bit, I know it's usually green-white is the starting mana base, but if you could do Naya and then have access to like Brotherhood's End in the main, could be an option as well, just to help you catch up. You're going to be losing a little bit on the card advantage, but you just want to go bigger then and kind of survive to the mid to late game. So that's kind of it. I'll post another one with some brews, but let me know what you're going to be playing, what you're most excited for. In case, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one and stay safe out there.